So we're gonna dive into ab training, how you develop your abs, how you build some nice blocky, dense abs, but also functional abs that you can use for sports. So kind of the overview, I'll kind of break it into two things. You kind of got your functional core training, and then you kind of got your aesthetical six-pack look, how you achieve that, how you get the best of both worlds. So the biggest thing with core training, I think a lot of times you see is these 5-minute ab videos where you're doing hundreds of reps with very low loads and you're just burning your abs. One thing with core training, train it like any other muscle. For example, if you can bench 225 pounds for 1 rep, you wouldn't go, in order to increase the size of your chest, you wouldn't just bench the bar for sets of 50, would you? No, it's not enough load to stimulate muscle hypertrophy. So with training your abs, train it like any other movement. So there's no point of doing hundreds of crunches or sit-ups because it's not gonna provide enough of a stimulus for you. So train it like any other movement, load it up, work in kind of that 8 to 20 rep range if you're looking to really develop your abs, and progressively overload it over time. So with ab training, it's key. Treat it like any other muscle group, load it. When I like to perform ab training, kind of go about a number of ways. One, I think abs, obviously, being a smaller muscle group, you could do towards the end of a workout session. So maybe on the end of your leg day, upper body day, you can perform 3-4 sets of an ab movement to really get some good stimulus there. Another way to go about it is you can do it on its own day, almost as a rest day. You can do it on your rest days. Ab training is not gonna be super systemically fatiguing where it's gonna leave you drained like a heavy squat session would. So you could do it on a rest day if you want to do it that way. So those are kind of the ways I like to train abs, but then we'll break it into 2 ways of how we train them functionally and also aesthetically. So functionally, training your core, obviously very important. So your abs, your obliques, your lower back, all that ties in, really good for sport performance. You can be more functional. Also really helps with generating force. So you can be more efficient. You can generate force more efficiently because your core is your base, your foundation where you generate that. Also can decrease injury risk. So some of my favorite functional core movements are going to be carries, weighted carries, where you're just holding a weight in a different position and just going for time. So Zercher carries, where you put in the crooks of your elbows. You got kettlebell carries, where you're holding in the front rack position. You got suitcase carries. You got farmer's carries where you're holding in that single arm, double arm position. The good thing about carries is you're preventing your core. So you're working anti. So you got anti-lateral flexion. You're trying to prevent your core from going to one side or prevent it from rotating, or anti-extension, prevent it from overextending. So training your core to resist motion is also really important to kind of build that. That's really good for functional strength. So carries are a great one. And one way I like to do them, if you're going more for strength, I kind of go based yardage or meters. If you have enough space available, go 10 to 50 yards. If you're really loading it up, that could be for strength. And if you're going more hypertrophy, go 50 to like 100 yards. Maybe a little lighter, but you're going for more time there. So there are a ton of different carry variations you can do as I've shown, and they're all awesome for developing your core. Other functional core exercises, you got your extension and rotation. So rotational exercises like a landmine rotation where you're going back and forth. You can do it from a standing position. You can do it from a tall kneeling position. That's gonna burn, really build your obliques. Good for rotational development. And then also cable wood chops, where you get on that cable machine, you're trying to rotate. Those are obviously great ones as well. And then you got your extensions. So your fallouts, your ab rollouts, stuff like that where you're extending at the core. Those are great ones as well. And then isometrics, there's some great isometrics you can do. Obviously a traditional plank can be good, but even stuff like an L-sit hold, if you have rings, you can do those. You can do them on benches, you can do hollow holds. Those will really develop your abs, burn your abs. So those are kind of all the functional core movements. Really carries are the big one, and then kind of resisting motion. So you're resisting extension, you're resisting lateral flexion, you're resisting rotation, really trying to develop that core for more functional sport performance or just everyday life to decrease injury risk and generate force more efficiently. Now, the aesthetical side, we're trying to really develop those abs and make them pop. So that's a good thing with ab training. Obviously, you always hear the classic saying, abs are made in the kitchen. Yes, having a lower body fat percentage, your abs are gonna be more visible. But one, even if you have a higher body fat percentage, you should still train your abs because it's an important muscle to train. But also two, if you do start cutting down, if you do have really well-developed abs, they'll start to pop at higher body fat percentages than if you didn't. So maybe abs start to pop around 15% or whatever it is, but you have these super developed abs, maybe you can see them at 17%, something like that. And I'm just using generic numbers, but kind of along that realm with that. So functional abs and now aesthetical ab training. So aesthetics, want to make them pop, really want to develop that rectus dominus, so that six-pack ab look, that nice blocky look where there's popping out of your skin. So my favorite core movements, toes to bar. So a variety of ways you can do this. You can do it without back support. We're just trying to bring those toes straight up to the bar. You can do it where you place a barbell behind your back and you're bringing those legs up, touching the bar, come back down. Now, if that's too advanced, you can do a hanging knee raise, which is a great core movement. And that's a good thing with a lot of these core movements. You can progressively overload them because you can always regress and progress them. So a hanging knee raise could be what you do, and then once you get used to that, you can start going to hanging straight leg raise, and then you can build your way up to a hanging toes to bar. So those are a great regression there. I love toes to bar, working in kind of that 10 to 20 rep range. One thing with all this core training is you really want to control the lowering. So maybe not like a super slow lowering, but as long as it's controlled, especially with a toes to bar, you don't want to just plop up and just come straight down like that where there's no control. That's where you're really going to develop your abs with the control. Because two other great movements that I like for aesthetics, your incline reverse crunches. Now this one you can do based off your difficulty. The higher up the bench, the harder the movement's going to be. This is another great movement where you really want to control it on the way down. You don't just want to plop down because that's really going to develop your abs. And then a cable crunch, a classic cable crunch where you get the rope behind your head and you're able to load that up. Obviously that's a super easy one to progress because you can just add load as you go, as you get stronger. So those three movements, those are my three aesthetic favorite ones because one, they're challenging to do. You can always progress and regress them, so you can always, constantly make progress. Two, you can really load them. Three, you can work through a full range of motion. That's very important with ab training. A lot of times you can restrict your range of motion, just do these half crunches and this and that. Man, you work those suckers through a full range of motion on a toes to bar, you're getting a full stretch, or on an incline reverse stretch, where you're getting a huge stretch there. That's gonna develop your abs. And then that with a controlled lowering. So it doesn't have to be like 6 seconds down or 3 seconds out. As long as there's some control there and you're fighting it, that's really gonna develop your abs. So that's kind of the way I go about ab training, kind of breaking it in two realms. You got your functional side, we're really developing kind of resisting motion. That's gonna be great for performance, but also just overall longevity and functionality. And then you got your aesthetic side. So we really want them to pop, seeing that six-pack ab look and those great movements for that. So train your core, keep it simple. You don't have to do these 5-minute ab routines. You can throw in a couple sets at the end of a session. You could do it on its own day. Generally, I like to aim for about 3 days a week where I'm hitting some sort of ab movement, and then maybe anywhere between 9 to 15 working sets a week. So what that looks like, maybe 3 days a week. At the end of a workout, you do 3 sets of a toes to bar one day, a cable crunch the other, and then a incline reverse crunch the other. There's 9 sets there. You working close to failure, working to failure, getting that burn, getting that full range of motion. Man, you'll develop abs in no time. And then of course, obviously lowering your body fat percentage is gonna help a little bit. But as far as building the abs, just like any other muscle, you gotta spend time burning them and you gotta progressively overload them. So that's my guide to training abs. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in more educational videos, follow me on Instagram right here at Dylan Shannon, but I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.